Hello, film fans. Welcome to the Film vs. Film podcast. My name is Martin Harries, your host, and I'm joined by the film encyclopedia man, Boaz Dix. We are a couple of filmmakers on occasion, but mainly can't stop yapping about movies. On this podcast, every episode we pick a topic from a film that's coming out at the cinema or on VOD. Myself and Boaz pick our favourite film from that topic, or team up against a guest and battle it out to decide which film will become the greatest film of all time. If you enjoy this podcast, please leave us a 5-star review and subscribe. Hello, Podderoonies. Yes, we are doing another spoiler special, and this one is dedicated to Thor, Love and Thunder, Thor's fourth appearance in a solo movie.
Thor 4.
In a Marvel film. Yes, that is a mouthful.
It's a Thorful.
Yes. And of course, I'm joined by a man who has made some time after his many a orgy party and, of course, eating grapes. Boaz Dix, how are you, sir?
Yeah, I'm great. I'm electric.
So, initial thoughts on the movie, Boaz? We saw it last night. We've only seen it once. Yeah, so just general thoughts, Boaz. What did you think?
Yeah, I mean, like, I liked a lot of it. Like, a lot of the comedy was okay. Some of it was, a little cringy.
Hit and miss.
Hit and miss, yeah, it was hit and miss. I think Christian Bale was good at it as a villain, and I think if he was in it more or kind of more of a threat, maybe, like if they focused on him more on the bat, do you know what I mean? Because it's very much focused on Thor and Jane for quite a while at the beginning. And I don't know, I think maybe that would have been cool, if he seemed more threatening. I did like some of the action scenes, like especially in like the Shadow Realm and stuff like that. I thought that was pretty awesome.
Overall, I thought I was pretty mixed on it, to be fair. A little bit of you. I didn't like Jane Foster in this much at all, if I'm honest. Not in like a sexist way or anything stupid like that, but I just think Jane is just not a particularly interesting character.
Yeah.
I felt that her storyline just didn't work for me, and the way they just drop like a random flashback about her childhood, and it was just a moment, I feel sad now, It's like, what? It just felt very
like unearned,
out of place.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah. When she died at the end, I felt nothing. I'm like, oh, okay, Jane died.
No, okay, yeah. Do you know, to be honest, that really is true, and I think that definitely shows you're not doing enough to, endear the audience to the character or make that character feel important. If I'm just like, oh, well, that's a shame for Thor, but, she literally is dead, and I'm just like, okay.
And I am a crier in films. I cry at movies a lot.
Yeah, because you're a bloody... I'm not. I'm so not. I'm so not a crier. So you've got to instruct me on the way of emotion.
Yeah, the floodgates will open one day, Boaz.
Yeah.
Just got to find the right film.
Yeah, I know. You've got to do a lot of searching.
But yeah, I didn't cry at all. I think it's a problem when the last time we saw her was in Thor: The Dark World, arguably the worst Marvel film Marvel has made. And plus, it was 10 years ago, so nearly.
Yeah, it was a long time ago.
So that's a problem in itself when the character isn't that interesting, when the last solo film was Thor Ragnarok, and you've got the Hulk that can talk, and Loki, way better characters than Jane, It's a shame. But, I mean, Taika tries really hard to, like, cement a relationship there, and that hilarious flashback montage thing to create something with Thor, like, in a hot dog suit,
Yeah.
And then they kind of, like, slowly grow apart. I thought that was actually quite funny. The visuals there, like, there's this little bit where when they are kind of, like, moving away and getting at each other a bit, and Jane's like, I've got to go to like a book meeting or whatever, and Thor's like, what, do you expect me to clear up all this mess? It's 2 plates. I thought that was good.
Yeah, or they're watching a scary movie and he gets his hammer ready. I thought that was quite funny.
Yeah. But I thought Jane Foster's action as Thor was pretty awesome, though. Like,
Yeah.
the way the hammer breaks apart and takes out a load of goons with all the different fragments was cool.
Yeah.
It's a shame we won't be able to see her again in future films, to be honest, because I think that would have helped, to be honest, if we see her looking forward, but she's dead.
Yeah, I really do like what they did with Mjolnir, and they made it a much more unique weapon.
Oh,
yeah. The fact that it can reassemble. The first time it does that looks so cool, where like all the pieces, they come back, like, smack loads and loads of creatures. She grabs the handle and it reforms on the base of the handle. I thought that was really awesome. I think one of my coolest moves that I saw her do was where they're in the shadow realm and a shadow creature's coming, and she puts just the handle in front on his jaw. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Like, all of the pieces are already flown, and he puts the handle on the jaw, and the pieces like go through the top of his skull to connect to the handle. I thought that was really cool. It was just like,
Yeah, that was awesome.
just crushed his head. I thought that was pretty awesome. That was a very inventive use of that gimmick.
I actually thought the most surprising thing and one of the most joyous things and the funniest things actually is, like, they give the hammers a personality in this film, which is amazing. Like, they give, Thor a relationship between him and Stormbreaker. Stormbreaker's literally getting jealous that, like, Mjolnir is back, and it's like, he tries to, like, go off on his own, but it's like, no, and then crashes on Asgard on the stage area. Yeah. That was hilarious. And then there's another bit where Stormbreaker's jealous because he's like, "Oh, it's nice to see you, Mjolnir, again. It's been a long time."
Yeah.
And then you just see Stormbreaker come in the background in the shot. Oh, that was probably one of the funniest moments for me.
Yeah, that was funny.
With just a hammer just coming into shot. That was hilarious.
Yeah,
so that was kind of really surprising. I'm not sure, like, pouring beer over Stormbreaker worked that well.
Yeah, that's pretty weird.
But I'm like, Thor, he can't drink. It's a hammer.
Yeah. So what was it? One other thing that I think I would have done differently is, it's kind of strange because it's like the stakes for this film. You'd think it would feel like really large stakes.
He was dressed as a hot dog, not a steak.
Sorry. Shut up. Yeah. But anyway, I'm just saying, like, the stakes in this film as well, kind of, like, it seems like there's this really big mission going on, but it doesn't feel like the stakiest, it doesn't feel like the biggest sort of Thor movie in scale or Marvel movie. I think I understand that when you're talking about most heroes, you don't want, like, every Marvel film to feel like it's the apocalypse, because then it gets kind of boring. But I think with Thor, he's a god and he's so powerful that maybe every film should be, like, really super. And I don't know, I just felt the stakes probably... And again, it's strange because of what the villain was trying to do. He's trying to kill every god. When they go to Omnipotent City and they meet the gods, they're all wankers.
Yeah.
So you're like, really, what is he trying to achieve here? He's trying to save a bunch of wankers,
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I don't know if maybe they could have done that better by just making a lot more of the gods, like, nicer. Do you know what I mean? You can still have Zeus be a dick, but I think you need a lot more innocent bystanders to sort of set up the stakes that, this would be a bad thing if he did this. Because even at the end, I'm like, and they're trying to stop him and he's at eternity and you think maybe he's going to do it. You're like, would it really be a bad thing? I mean, Thor would die. That would be a shame. But the rest of them, like, fuck him, They convince him while he's on his on death's door not to kill all the gods. And he gets his daughter back instead. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess that was pretty weak, I guess, wasn't it? The fact that
it's pretty weak.
It didn't feel particularly difficult for Thor to change his mind at the end.
No, it's like, you don't want revenge, choose love. It's like, you could have said this earlier, I suppose, It's like, it's a very easy thing to say, I suppose, yeah. Yeah, he didn't take much convincing.
The Mighty Thor's storyline, Jane Foster, just was very weak. I just, I don't know. The whole cancer thing was from the comics, which is great, but there wasn't enough time for that to develop. Yes, as I said, they tried to create a lot of backstory.
One of the problems I have with a bunch of... I think it's like a lot of Thor films in general, but some of the films, I can't, for the life of me, like, specify exactly which films. I think this was also the case, actually, in Thor Ragnarok, but I think... And I think... I'm not sure if they got the balance exactly right, because I would complain there, and I don't think they got it even as right here, is that Taika tends to take like many storylines and then fuse them together. And I feel like maybe you should just pick one at a time. And I think it was done a little better in Ragnarok because he basically did, Ragnarok and Hela and all that stuff and Planet Hulk and then fused them together and you're trying to work around both stories. And this one, it's
I thought that worked quite well, to be fair.
Yeah, I thought it works better than here, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And with this, they're trying to work out, Gore and Jane is the mighty Thor. I would have personally wanted more Gore. So, if they'd maybe saved like a Jane film for some other time and focus on her, like, or give her a solo film, so she's more realized. Yeah, I kind of just wanted more Gore, really.
I think you could have had more Gore and more the mighty Thor, because this isn't exactly that long for a Marvel film.
No, it isn't actually. That is surprising.
This is just clocking in just under 2 hours. So I would have wanted more the mighty Thor for me. Because I thought Christian Bale was amazing. I thought he was the best performance in it by a mile, to be honest. Like, the design was incredible. Like, the black goo coming out of his mouth and all the scars on his face was amazing. And just the arc of his performance was brilliant, from being like incredibly innocent at the start and desperate to like proper insane and, really going for it with that stuff. That was awesome. I mean, I read this morning that the first cut of this film was 4 hours.
Jesus Christ.
So, I mean, it was just full of jokes, and Chris Hemsworth was like, it was batshit crazy, Well, it just feels like, well, how much actual story stuff did they cut out? Is it just all jokes, or?
It might be. I think it might be. The story was just like this, but they just,
Yeah. So I quite liked Gore's storyline of him trying to destroy all the gods. I think stakes-wise, it wasn't a huge problem for me. Yeah, it's just the Jane Foster was just very underwritten for me.
Yeah. But that's all I'm saying. I just would have preferred to have more gods more endearing or wanting to help. So you're like, okay, it's not such a bad. It's a bad thing if they die. I just never really felt that it would be a terrible thing if they all died. Yeah, that's all right.
Yeah.
Especially because the first god you come across that he slays is objectively evil. He is just a bad person or bad deity. That thing was evil. There's no getting around that. So maybe if they had more endearing gods.
Yeah, and Russell Crowe was amazing, though. Yes, he was a dick, but a hilarious dick.
Yeah, a hilarious Hellenic dick.
With his, Russian Eastern European voice.
Whoa, did you just say Russian Eastern European? That was a Greek accent.
Was it? Really?
Yeah.
It didn't sound like it. Jesus Christ.
That's what he was going for. He was going for Greek.
Really? Yeah, I know Zeus is Greek, but I'm like, that wasn't Greek. Surely not.
It was bad Greek, but it was an attempt at Greek.
It sounded fucking Russian to me. You see the little round piece here? That's stage. That is the stage. All I want to do is have orgy and eat grape.
Yeah.
That's fucking Russian to me.
I like where he was because he kept interrupting. He's like, okay, you are no longer invited to orgy. And I mentioned orgies quite a lot. It's pretty good.
Yeah. Oh, I could just see kids and the kids Dad, what does an orgy mean? I don't know. I have no idea. Sorry.
Yeah, me and your mum have them every time you're at nursery.
Oh, okay, I understand now.
If a mummy and a daddy and another mummy and another mummy and another daddy and another mummy and another daddy love each other very much.
I just thought you invited lots of dogs. But I think, talking of stakes, I think one thing they try to incorporate in making the stakes higher is with the kids. But the problem with that, and one of the most disappointing, surprising things, is the fact that the kids are not good.
No.
The kid who plays Axel, Hamdel's son, I thought was awful. I have to say,
yeah, no, I agree with that.
When he's talking to Thor as a ghost vision, I felt for Chris Hemsworth a bit there. He's just like, is this what I have to work with? Oh God, I need to work really hard here.
It's like, emote, damn it. Jesus, emote.
He's just like, Thor, please come and save us. I'm like, oh my God. Really?
We're in so much trouble. We're going to die.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't think it was great.
Which is really surprising because Taika Waititi like casts kids really well. Like all his kids in his films are amazing. Like so that was a real shock to me that this kid was not good. So I wouldn't be surprised if Taika wasn't involved in some capacity in casting. I don't know, or seeing the audition. I'm not sure, but you know, if you had Julian Dennison or any of the actors that he's previously worked with in that role, it would have been amazing, you know.
No, I think I agree. I think, yeah, you know, because you're dealing with he's trying to rescue children, and I think even then, yeah, I just don't give a crap about the kids. I would say that's one of my major problems with the film. I think I have a few, like some of the comedy didn't land, and Jane, wasn't that interesting. But yeah, I think a big one for me, as I said, like I just don't feel why he's going on this adventure. So it just didn't really, because you're saving kids who I don't care about, and you're saving the wider pantheon of gods who I also don't care about. So, I'm not exactly sure why he's doing this. I'll tell you. So I did say before, like I really did like, I did like the action scenes. Maybe I would have put the monochrome world, the Veil of Shadows, maybe at the end. I just really like that. The whole
definitely, yeah,
black and white Sin City stuff. And I thought that was really great. Even in the trailers, I was like, man, I can't wait to see that. And it was better than the trailers. There was a lot more stuff going on. And I really liked that.
That was incredible. I love how Mjolnir like lights up between the cracks, and you see all the little bits of color on her cape and like color of her skin on the side of her face. I thought that was awesome. The way, when light is in the shadow realm and you have little bits of light here and there. I thought that was amazing from the lightning. Just incredible action, and the scale felt really huge as well. It's really impressive, I thought.
I think it did feel like a lot better than the last fight, which kind of, it's in a smaller environment. It doesn't really look that impressive. Yeah, there are statues and stuff, but it doesn't look that impressive. Yeah, I just don't think like the last fight was as good, like anywhere near.
No.
So probably they shouldn't have ended it there.
Because like the creature designs were amazing, like the giant ones in the Shadow Realm, like all the creature designs I really liked. But in that, as you say, in that last fight at the center of the universe, like when Thor gives, it's quite funny the speech when he gives like all the children lightning powers, Thor powers or whatever.
Yeah.
For a limited time only, you will have Thor powers. But yeah, even from like a directional point of view, I was a bit lost sometimes, like actually what's going on, because it's a very dark set, and I felt a little bit lost at times in the action.
Yeah, no, I agree with that.
Even in the Shadow Realm, I didn't. Maybe that's because the scale was huge, and you have to kind of have the camera pull out anyway to see what's going on.
Yeah, but I also think, the place where it's filmed, the set just doesn't look that great. Like, nothing is very distinctive. It just looks like a small, very bleak room. I mean, it's not small, but, it's not...
Square room, yeah.
Yeah, it's just a kind of bleak square room. It's pretty dark. And yeah, you can't really, work out where everybody is.
Yes, it goes with, like, Gore's aesthetic, but... Yeah, it's kind of a bit bland when you compare it to Thor Ragnarok, where it's incredibly colourful. Everything's incredibly clear. There's a giant wolf, Hulk doing his stuff.
Yeah. Well, I think this is the thing we've discussed before on films. It's like your most impressive sets, your most impressive whatever. Make that the end fight. Just stop fucking doing that, where you like make the most impressive fight halfway through, and then we've got to see like something really subpar at the end. It's like, for God's sake,
But also, like, how does Jane arrive at the center of the universe at the end?
Yeah, no idea.
As far as I'm concerned, Mjolnir doesn't have Bifrost abilities, the last time I checked. Like, she arrives on Valkyrie's unicorn, yes, but I didn't realize it could travel, like, at light speed or whatever, interdimensional travel. I felt, how?
Yeah, she should have got there like several months later.
Well, several years later, frankly. But, you space and timey-wimey stuff.
Yeah, thousands of years.
Yeah, she does, like, explain, like, the rips in time or whatever, the whole interstellar event horizon thing with the paper and the pen. Yes, that's cool and funny, referencing that. But, like, there's no means to actually do that, though. She had no power source to do that.
Yeah.
of what we
Yeah, that's
know
a
in the
good point.
MCU. If she had Stormbreaker, sure, fair enough, but she doesn't. So
Yeah.
how the hell did she get there? I thought Korg was a bit disappointing for me. Like, I can't tell you a single line that he said that was funny, to be honest. I know my memory's not amazing, but compared to yours, but I'm like, the only one I can remember is obviously the Dwayne Johnson joke where he meets his boyfriend and he's called Dwayne, with a tash,
Yeah.
obviously referencing The Rock, Dwayne Johnson. Well, when I thought Korg died, I was very distressed in that moment. I'm like, what the fuck are you doing right now? Are you trying to really upset me? It did have kind of like Rise of Skywalker vibes at that moment when you think Chewie has died in the ship. I was like, what are you doing? But I love the visual comedy that brought to the film where Valkyrie ties Korg's face to the back of her head and gives her directions, from what was behind her. That was hilarious, to be honest.
Yeah, because as much as you like him, maybe like they should have killed him. Because I think a lot of the times you have to have like.
Don't say that. Take that back.
I think you literally have to have the balls to do that. You're saying it's a complaint that you didn't cry at Jane's death. I mean, you would have cried if like fucking Korg properly died. So yeah, no, I think if they just had the balls to do that.
But he's really interesting. He's funny,
Yeah, well, which means that the pain would be far more, believable and more warranted if he does fucking die. You can't complain. You can't complain of a lack of emotion on a character's death and then recede when you're like, no, because I don't want that character to die because that would make me feel emotion. That doesn't make any fucking sense. I think they should have committed. Just, I would actually say, just like with the Chewie thing, they should have blown him out of the sky and fucking killed him.
Really?
Because, at least, yes, absolutely. Characters die.
You're a monster.
There has to be stakes. And actually, one of the things, it doesn't really frustrate me that much when a fan favorite character dies, because at least you get an emotional reaction that, shows you there's a tension, there's some connection with you in the film. But I don't like where you try and like have your cake and eat it too, where you're like, I'm going to kill this character so you get the emotional reaction and then bring him back because I'm too much of a pussy to actually kill him. To me, I don't know, that just doesn't work. I'd rather, if characters appear to die, they fucking die.
I think that works fine with Korg, though, because he's very much a side character and he's not integral to the plot, whereas Jane is integral to the plot, and I didn't feel nothing. I think that's the difference there.
No, I think you can kill anybody, anywhere, anytime, and especially if they're a fan favourite, I think it's probably something you should do.
But I was very pleased when Korg was all right at the end, to be fair. So that didn't bother me that much that he didn't die.
End on a high note. Who knows if he's going to be as, funny or interesting the next film. Would you like diminishing returns? You say he's not as funny in this film.
Yeah.
Well, he's less funny in the next film.
Yeah, that's good.
Just fucking kill him. Yeah. End on a high note. He dies, then you have an immortal memory of him.
I thought the Guardians of the Galaxy would be in it a little bit more. Like, I mean, does Drax even get a line? I'm not sure.
Not really. Yeah.
It's hilarious when Nebula decides to put down, like, the goats. I thought the goats in this were hilarious, like, the way they scream.
Yeah. I thought the goats were hilarious up to a point. I think after a certain point, I'm like, yeah, I get it. They scream. Cut it out now. I get the joke. I get it. It's done. Stop the screaming. Like, I think it would have been more funnier if halfway through the film they gagged the goats. You got to change the joke,
or actually give the goats lightning powers and the goats attack Gore at the end instead of the kids. That would have been.
That would be pretty cool. I thought it was cool on the Shadowland that they got involved in the fight. I thought that was pretty sweet.
Yeah.
I also like the gag actually when they arrive at the Shadow Planet because it's like the Shadow Realm. It's the Shadow Realm, and I thought like they were traveling to it because they're traveling on the boat there. And you think it's still really far away because it's so small, and they just land in it, and it's like fucking tiny.
Oh yeah, that was hilarious.
I thought that was a good visual gag. Just like, poof. It's like, what the hell?
What do you think of the Guardians of the Galaxy in this one, Theo? Were they not in it enough, or?
No, I think they're in it too much. Get them the fuck out of here. It's a Thor movie. Yeah.
Well, yeah, I guess like if you're going to use them a lot more than this. It's very like.
Well, minimal.
Yeah, very, very minimal.
I think how they kind of got them out of the plot, I don't know if that worked. I don't think that worked. Where it's like, you've got to investigate this. Oh, you're growing too attached to me. I don't know what the fuck that was. It was funny, the speech, but it just felt like a way to get them the fuck out of there so that it could be a Thor movie. And I thought that was kind of clunky. And yeah, no, I don't need to see the Guardians in a Thor movie. It's a Thor movie.
Yeah.
So it's kind of the same thing I have with, like, for example, if they were in it constantly, it's the same problem I actually have with Civil War. Like, I love Civil War, but I don't think it should have been a Captain America film because it just isn't. And so I think when you have too many supporting characters, it's like, at what point do you say this is his solo film? So I think, listen, just like fuck off for a bit. You Guardians do your Guardian stuff. Thor does his Thor stuff. If you're going to do a mashup through most of the film, then I don't know, call it as Guardians of the Galaxy, and just have a film like that so everybody knows what they're watching.
Maybe,
but
yeah.
I mean that's my thing. I just thought they were. I just would have preferred them not to be in it at all, really.
Yeah, I mean they have some funny stuff, but as you said, like they're just not in it very much, and it just these are the Guardians of the Galaxy. If you're gonna have them, like have them a lot more in your film, like in a Civil War maybe, and not have the mighty Thor.
I would literally just make a compromise. Either they're in the film a lot, but then I'm pretty sure you should change the title to kind of acknowledge that they're main players in the film, or simply just don't have them. Like otherwise it's just a waste of time. They're in there and you don't exactly know why.
I guess they were kind of written into a corner. Well, Taika was written into a bit of a corner there anyway.
Yeah,
because
he was.
Obviously, he went off with the Guardians in Endgame, but at the same time, you can't exactly just say.
Yeah, they split off screen. That would be unsatisfying.
Yeah.
So you've got to have some sort of fucking explanation. But as I said, it just, to me, they're just writing a scene with them to explain why they shouldn't be in the rest of the film. And for me, that's just a waste of time.
I think for me, I think it's fine having them in there, but I wanted more of them, and maybe just have them in there for like a third of the film or a quarter of the film, but not for like 10 minutes or even less. It's not worth it.
And as I said, I think it's a really weak reason why they leave. Just again doesn't really make sense. They could join if they wanted to.
But I mean, the action with Thor was really cool when he basically just takes all those aliens out. Was really funny. Like great uses of Stormbreaker, like the way Thor stops two of those vehicles with his legs outstretched was awesome. I felt.
That was funny.
Then he jumps up and they kind of crash into each other. I thought the design of those aliens was really interesting and cool. It definitely reminded me a lot of Mad Max Fury Road a little bit, like the design, like the spiky car people. So that was fun, and the way the the palace falls down in the background. Another classic Thor adventure, and crash.
That was funny.
Post-credit scenes. What do you think of those? Where we see Brett Goldstein as Hercules.
Yeah,
not exactly famous for his muscles, so they're certainly subverting that idea.
That is very true. He does look like not intimidating at all, especially because it's mainly Zeus who is still alive. Even though you think he's been killed. Yeah, and he's giving a speech to. You think it's the audience, it's actually Hercules. People used to fear gods, and we'll make them fear again, and we'd take down Thor, and blah 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 blah. It's like, do you see Hercules? And you're like, oh, Hercules, and it turns around the camera, and he just does not look very intimidating at all, dressed up as Hercules. So I don't know. I don't know about that. Probably would have been cooler if it was like some muscle. What if they got the actor who played the Mountain? That would have been cool. Turned around, just like,
yeah. But they're definitely like subverting that idea of maybe just having a weedier Hercules that we're not used to. Certainly playing it for laughs. So it'll be interesting to see where he comes up again. Are we going to get another Thor solo film or in an Avengers film? I don't know. It'll be interesting to find out.
I think if it's a Thor film, you just don't complicate it. Just Thor versus Hercules, and that's just a film. No need to make it very complicated. Or it can segue into a sort of Hercules series. So maybe they team up. Maybe it's like, they fight, they team up sort of film. It usually happens. And then fight a Hercules-centric villain. There is a really cool villain of Hercules called like the Chaos King, who's like a Japanese god of evil.
Okay.
That run was really cool. Those issues were really cool.
All right.
What did you feel about... Did you know that was Chris Hemsworth's daughter at the end.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I knew she was in it, but I wasn't sure which character. Yeah, I thought that last scene where like she's carrying Stormbreaker, which is literally twice as big as her, and
Yeah.
Hemsworth carrying Mjolnir, jumping out of the ship. That was just a great visual gag to end the film on.
And like I didn't also mind like where they were talking at the end where he's making breakfast and what have you. I thought that felt pretty cool because I suppose they're actually father and daughter. But one of the problems I kind of had was when Gore was dying, I just did not believe she actually gave a fuck about like on-screen fun. Like he's crying his eyes out. Like Christian Bale is like, my daughter, oh, I'm so sorry. And she just looks like she does not give a fuck. Like, just looking down, it's like, can this stranger die so I can act with my real daddy?
Yeah. There is a bit of that.
So to me, it just didn't really seem like she actually gave a fuck about that
guy. I mean, at the start when she dies with Gore in her arms on that desert planet or whatever, we don't even know her name. She doesn't get any lines. Like, all we know is Gore's daughter dies. Just daughter dies. That's it. Yeah. So it was a bit like, really? You starting here? Surely you got to start a bit earlier in their story to make that work.
Like, build a relationship. So yeah, when he's like dying in front of her or decides to bring her back, you feel something. You're like, I understand why you'd bring her back. You had such a great relationship. Or I'd understand why you're so sad. Yeah, I think maybe they should have done that.
Yeah. It'll be interesting whether they go down that route with actually having Chris Hemsworth's daughter team up with Thor.
That'd be cool.
In the next one, if there is going to be a next one, whether that will work.
They could sort of try and write his son also into it. His son was also in as a young Thor, where they're going from like baby Thor to young Thor to Chris Hemsworth as Thor.
Yeah, I thought Korg was actually really good in the fact that, telling Thor's backstory through the years, through Thor's adventures. I thought that was actually quite fun. But yeah, I thought certainly Chris Hemsworth's daughter was a lot better than the kid who plays Axel, who was bad, frankly.
Yeah, it was bad. I think most of the kids in the cage were like not that good. And then he's like the only one that talks, and he's not very good at all.
I mean, where do we put this in, firstly, Taika's films that he's made and like the MCU films? I mean, I don't think this goes anywhere close to a top 10 in the MCU.
No, I would say, just maybe like middling. There are so many problems with it. It's not as good as many of the others. But, there's still, it's not, I would say, like, god awful. Like, I was expecting to probably hate it.
Wait, right.
Well, maybe it's just a reason of expectations,
Yeah.
When it came out and they were saying like, some of the reviews are pretty bad and stuff. And I watched some other guy review of it and, it's like, oh God, is this going to be like terrible? So I think maybe my expectations were really, really low because of certain people. And I don't think it was anywhere near that bad. No. I don't think it was like great. I probably might forget it quicker than some of them. There was some funny bits in it and there was some good action in it. Again, I do stand by everything I said.
Yeah.
The whole sequence in the Shadow Realm, that was fucking sweet.
Obviously, the obvious comparison you make with this film is Thor Ragnarok. Thor Ragnarok is in my top 10 of MCU films.
Yeah.
For sure. As I've said, when you've got Hulk and Loki and Anthony Hopkins, in my eyes, one of the best actors that has ever lived, in my opinion. When you don't have those characters in this film, it's going to suffer right from the off. I don't think it does. And not having some of those characters in there. Yeah, I would probably put it fairly low teens. Yeah, it's just such a shame because like we've had 4 Thor films now, and like we've only one genuinely really great film. Thor 1, good. This one, good. Dark World, not good at all.
Yeah.
I was a defender of that film for a long time, and then I saw it recently. I'm like, why? This is not good.
Yeah.
But I think in terms of Taika's films that he's directed, I think this is probably his worst film, I think, which is a real shame because a lot of his films center around child characters, young characters. the young characters are not good in this, unfortunately.
No.
They're really not good, which is a real shame. I think Phase 4, certainly the films-wise, they're very middling. They're good, but they're not great. You know, you look at Black Widow.
No, I agree with that. Yeah,
It's fine. Some stuff doesn't make sense, but it's got some good action. Florence Pugh is amazing in that film.
my favorite one so far that's been made, like since Endgame and everything. My favorite one is still Spider-Man. I would still watch that.
Oh yeah.
But part of that, because I think you can dissect that and be like, yeah, a lot of the plot points don't really make a great deal of sense. It's probably not the best, blah, blah, blah. But I think the fact it's a payoff of 20 years of stuff and it has all these characters reprise their roles and do a fucking good job of it. And to me, that sticks in my mind because that's like the culmination of like a lot of stuff. And it was a big film, like in sort of scale. And then everything else, I don't know, it just kind of, they're okay, but they don't like blow you away.
And I don't think it's because of the expectation of the, yes, we're expecting an end game every film now. I think it's just they're doing too much. They're trying too hard a little bit. This film feels a bit overstuffed with too much.
Yeah, I agree.
And when we were talking about Taika Waititi films on one of our episodes, I was saying that the beauty of his work is the fact that there aren't that many characters. There's just too much in this film for me. And, like Multiverse of Madness, again, it's a bit messy. There's too much stuffed in there.
Too many ideas. Yeah. No, I kind of agree as well with Multiverse of Madness. It's like, yeah, you're trying to pack what could be maybe 3 or 4 films into one film. And it feels unsatisfying in each segment. You're like, wow, man, you could really go further with this, but now you're switching gear to this. You could go further with this, but you've only got so much time. And so I think they should be more focused. So as I'm saying, if they do like another one and they introduce Hercules, just focus it on that and don't try and do like way too much because, you just kind of dilute it,
So I think Phase 4 at the moment, the quality is coming from the Disney Plus shows for me and not the films. Like Hawkeye, Loki. I know you haven't seen them all, but they're amazing.
Yeah, I like Loki.
Miss Marvel at the moment, incredibly good.
I need to watch that.
Yeah, the quality is coming from Disney Plus TV shows, not the films. We're not saying this film is really bad. It's not. There's a lot of good stuff in here. I would say, for me, Gore is a better villain than Hela, for me, personally. And this has probably one of the best action scenes in the MCU, visually, from a visual standpoint, in the Shadow Realm. I was like, this is incredible. The fact that they're literally basically going black and white. I was like, wow.
It also went on a lot longer than I was expecting, which is a good thing, because I was like, man, they're like, he's got these shadow creatures, he's teleporting around, they're fighting at the same time. It's like, I thought it was really cool. Did enjoy it.
So, yeah, I think overall, yes, expectations were quite high for me, but it's an average Marvel film, which isn't to say it's a bad film. It's still a very good film, but there's a lot of issues in there. And we're finding that a lot with Phase 4 films now.
Yeah. But I would say also, when we're talking about the comedy, I think maybe Ragnarok might have been the funnier film.
Oh, yeah. It's got less jokes, but it's funnier.
Yeah, it's less jokes. Because I think, like, there is a point where there's a bit too many jokes. You're like, Thor, just shut up for a minute. Stop, like, fucking saying stupid shit. Just talk plainly. Like, sometimes it's kind of less is more. If he's, like, serious for most of the time and then came out with a random joke, that's fair enough. But, like, Chris is, like, every other line he's trying to make funny. It's like, dude, cut it out. Just stop. Just stop for a minute. Be serious. And then, when you do make a joke, maybe it's going to hit.
I do get the sense as well that, like, nearly every scene is improvised as well. Every single one. I'm just like, was there a script here? And obviously, I said to you before we watched it, like, I read that Taika literally let the actors, like, improvise, not in terms of jokes, but in terms of where the plot went as well. I'm just like, I'm not sure that was the best idea on such a huge film. But yeah, overall, good, but didn't meet expectations, unfortunately. So I think we'll leave it there. Boaz, you can get back to your orgies, and, of course, eating grapes. Bye-bye.
I never stopped, man. There's a lot going under this desk. So much.
Christ, that's a lot of grapes. Bye-bye.
Yeah.
Gonna say bye? Or...
Bye. Yeah, bye. See ya. Bye.
That's it for this week's pod. Thank you for listening. We hope you enjoyed it. But don't stop there. Get involved and tell us what your favourite films are relating to the episodes. Send us a DM or comment on Instagram and TikTok at Film vs. Film Podcast, for Twitter at FVF_podcast. If you do, we'll give you a shout out on the next episode. If you're feeling really generous, you can buy us a one-off coffee at our Buy Me a Coffee account. Remember, please leave us a 5-star review and subscribe. Pod signing off.